So you are still listening to the We Are West Ham podcast with me, Will Pugh, Tom Edwards and James Jones, running through the charity bets there. Fingers crossed me and the lads can start the money rolling in again to add to the thousands of pounds we have already raised for charity this season. But look, after the euphoria of West Ham's unbeaten run in the Premier League, it's wins, wins, wins in all competitions. I'm delighted to say that joining us to look ahead to the Champions League place decider on Sunday at the London Stadium against Liverpool, 4:30 kickoff, is Mark Flanagan, host of the Stick It Up Your Ballacks podcast and Love Sport Radio's Northwest correspondent. Mark, it's wonderful to have you joining us, and you said before we came on air that it's nice to chat to fans of a fellow top four club, which automatically makes you our favourite opposition view guest that we've ever had on. How's things, and how intimidated are you by the prospect of coming to face West Ham on Sunday?
We're intimidated by facing anyone at the moment. It just feels I saw a tweet the other day, watching Liverpool, it's like we've been watching the same game for a month. We've become very predictable, and I think we've become a bit stale. I don't know if it's teams have found us out or there's just too many players who aren't in form. But I think the thing that I'm clinging to is we seem to do it. We're better against better teams who will maybe have a bit more of a go against us. So I'm hoping that West Ham go all guns blazing on, is it Sunday or Monday? I can't completely forgot.
Yeah, Sunday 4:30 kickoff.
Because we've still got Spurs to come yet. I know you're still, you can sit back and think about that Palace victory, but we've got Spurs before we've got you as well.
Fixtures on the bounce for Liverpool. Spurs away on Thursday, which will put you level on games with us, and you're 1 point behind at the moment on 34 to our 35. And I'd like to, unfortunately, based on what you just said there, I don't think David Moyes will be going all guns blazing at all. What we have shown this season is
that's not like him.
Well, to be honest, I think he's finally got the balance right against the smaller teams, the ones you should beat on paper. Like tonight, he's he's willing to go at teams and really open up and unleash our attacking talents. But we've definitely shown as well that we have got it in us to hunker down, keep things organised and tight, and try and hit on the break with Antonio. So there is every chance that we'll have half a chance of winning. What's the biggest concern for you then, Mark, going into the game? Is it your own form or just the impressive run that West Ham are on at the moment?
I think you've mentioned him. I think the fact Antonio's fit. I love Antonio. I think if he wasn't 30, I think he's 30 years old now, isn't he? And he didn't have his injury problems. He's just what Liverpool are missing. He's a guy who can make things happen by himself. West Ham don't need to pass teams to death to score. I've always liked him. He's just got something about him. I don't know what it is, and he just seems to be getting better and better. And I think West Ham are a sort of a team now that they're settled. The best. The team they're going to play, and they've also got a bit of strength in depth as well. And it's bloody annoying because I can't stand your owners. So I was just loving the fact that the fans are great, but it's like it's happened by accident. They appointed Moyes by accident almost, and it's fallen into their lap a little bit. I suspect, the Haller signing, that was probably someone in the boardroom saying we need to get that Haller, and he's, the stars are slightly aligning for West Ham with City and Liverpool coming back to the pack a little bit, and everybody. You're not in Europe as well, are you? So you don't have to worry about horrible.
Not yet, Mark. Not yet.
Well, you're going to go straight to the top one. Going straight for the top one. So yeah, it could get really interesting for West Ham as well, particularly if Leicester. I think Leicester are still in the Europa League, aren't they? And I know Southampton aren't. So yeah, you've got a chance. You've got a chance, but yeah, he's key. Antonio, keeping him fit, he's key.
Well, given the form at the moment between the two clubs, West Ham and Liverpool, obviously we're going into this game pretty confident. But you mentioned earlier about Liverpool getting a little bit a little bit stale. And I was just looking at the 2018 Champions League final. And there's only 2 players in your starting 11 that day that are no longer at the club. The rest are still at the club playing week in, week out. Do you think that that's been a bit of an oversight from Klopp, that he hasn't probably changed it up or refreshed the squad as much as he has done? I know he's brought in a few players since then, but do you think that that's probably now coming back to bite him a little bit in his inability to really refresh the squad more regularly?
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that's overlooked slightly is the fact that they've never, Liverpool, apart from when they went big with Van Dijk and Alisson, have done everything pretty well and smartly in the transfer market. So they've never spent big money and done it gradually. And when I was on Love Sport Radio I kept saying Liverpool have been really lucky in a number of games. And I just think what it is, and it's quite a boring answer, but it's just true. It's a lot of little factors all coming together. So Van Dijk out. He settles everything down and they can play a lot higher because they know we've got Van Dijk to get them out of trouble. They haven't been able to play a settled back four. The full-backs have played too much football. Robertson's probably been Liverpool's most consistent player. Trent, I don't know what's happening with Alexander-Arnold. It's like he's in the last 6 weeks. I mean, it's the weird thing. The irony is we go and stuff Palace 7-0, and then it just falls apart really quickly. It's odd. I do think that the key thing for Liverpool is that Henderson is missing. I mean, he's so underrated as a player. He's up there with Fernandinho in terms of that ability just to be in the right place at the right time, to snuff out danger. And he can do it for 90 minutes and he doesn't stop. And I think Henderson almost makes everything click into place a little bit for Liverpool. And I think he helps he'll often overlap on the outside of Alexander-Arnold. He just gets all over the pitch. And as good as Thiago is technically, and he's great on the ball and he'll find a pass, we just don't have the legs in the midfield at the moment. And all these little things are just building up and building up. And Salah has always been a bit of a weird player in that he gives the ball away a lot. He does a lot of things wrong, but then he'll pop up with 2 goals. You know what I mean? So when things are going wrong, Salah can look awful. And if I was West Ham, I'd get into Salah, and because the body language can go quite quickly. The good thing for Liverpool, at least Firmino looked like his old self against United in the FA Cup. He just came alive. So that's slightly clutching at straws. But like I say, I think West Ham will be really fancying it. Moyes will be really fancying it. Liverpool only play one way. You know, they never ever sit back. And West Ham are perfectly set up. I really like Bowen. I think he's great. I've got strong connections in Hull, and they loved him down there. Great, inspired signing. And with your front three, and the fact that I don't know who he'll play alongside Fabinho. You might play Henderson, because the lad who came in against United had a shocker. So we've got real problems there as well, which is obviously only going to add fuel to West Ham's ambition, I think.
Mark, what you just mentioned right there, you mentioned 2 of them in Salah and Firmino, but the front 3 have been really off the pace. I'd argue all season. I know it's come to light in the last few weeks when you've had a few shutouts in the Premier League. I know obviously Salah nicked a few at the weekend at Old Trafford, but how much of a worry is that? And particularly for Firmino, because I think it's pretty set that Mane and Salah will probably keep their places forever, and they deservedly have that. But Firmino looks like the one who might drop out when Jota comes back. How much of a worry is finding that balance again, and how reasonable is it to suggest that might be gone, and that might be in their era that's already been gone?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one, because unless you're on the inside, I mean, my understanding with the Liverpool front 3, particularly with Mane and Salah, it's always been a slightly uneasy alliance. There is a bit of something going on between them, and I just think that when Jota came in and did so well, and basically almost showed up Firmino a little bit, it did, like you say, highlighted the fact that just gradually, bit by bit, they haven't been at it. I would argue that they were at their best in the year that we came second. To City, when they were absolutely fantastic. The Van Dijk factor made the difference last season and the goalkeeper as well. yeah, found out. I mean, I watch Liverpool now. It just feels very predictable. You almost know exactly what the pass they're going to play when each player gets the ball, and that's what we're really missing, is that somebody who can just. Firmino is the best we've got in terms of dropping into midfield and picking a bat or making something happen, or like going past a couple of players. Even Mane, when he gets the ball out wide, I'm thinking he's going to get dispossessed here, and sort of 7 times out of 10 he does. And there is a frustration that we just don't seem to have much of a plan B as well when we need to kind of rethink. And obviously over time teams get found out, and the genius of Ferguson and Bob Paisley from the 80s was we always changed the winning side from strength. You know, they were brutal. They got rid of players who you think, why is he getting rid of, you know, why are they getting rid of him? Why are they getting rid of that? He was brilliant last season, but just knowing when to change it when you're on top is so important. And we haven't done that really too much.
So, Mark, basically, you're sort of saying that Liverpool.
Sorry,
that's all right. Saying Liverpool look quite predictable at the moment. I think it's still an extremely daunting prospect, as far as I'm concerned, to have Liverpool come into the London Stadium on Sunday. And as much as we are playing well at the moment, we're sort of beating teams that, you know, we would expect to beat, really. You know, all football fans have got that list of teams that on paper you should beat, but Liverpool certainly aren't one of those for us at the moment. And I don't know about these two, but I'd snap your arm off for a point at the moment. But how do you see the game going style wise? You mentioned Liverpool's style there. Just before we get a score prediction and let you go, how do you see the game sort of playing out from a gameplay style point of view?
Well, I think West Ham will almost drop too deep because they will struggle to even. I mean, as daft as it sounds, and as well as West Ham are doing, even with Moyes, that he's very pragmatic. So he'll be thinking that as well. He'll be thinking a point's good for us. Don't give them space. Don't let them, you know, fill those pockets. You know, there'll be 2 banks of 4. It'll be really tight, and then you've got Antonio and Bowen, and who'll play on the other side.
Fornell's played tonight. You'll have Said Ben Rama. Yeah, it depends on the formation.
Yeah, I like him. He's clever. It is almost like you say, you do worry sometimes the West Ham factor, that they get to this elevated position and then they kind of shoot themselves in the foot, and Tompkins will, you know, elbow somebody in the face after 5 minutes and get sent off. And something like, you know, there'll be throw a spanner in their own works. But I do feel this season is different. Clubs like West Ham and Southampton and Leicester have just got to kind of think this is our opportunity. It is a great opportunity. I know City have built up a head of steam. I'm not convinced about Spurs at all. I do think the Mourinho mindset, he goes on the defensive. If United and City are going to be definite for the top 4 and Liverpool can get their act together, there's definitely an opportunity. In West Ham, I've got as good a chance as any, really. It's just keeping the key players fit, and that'll make a big difference, I think.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed. Well, look, Mark, we really appreciate you joining us, as we always do. What's your score prediction for Sunday? West Ham v Liverpool in the Premier League, Champions League place, head-to-head clash, 4:30 kickoff.
2-0 to Liverpool.
2-0 to Liverpool after all of that.
West Ham will do something. They just will.
Yeah. I totally agree. Well, Mark Flanagan, football journalist, host of the Stick It Up Your Ballacks podcast. Thanks very much for joining us.